Hey guys, welcome to this episode of The Surge. This episode goes past just a mystery and into the realm of conspiracy as we look into the magic bullet and the nobody. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was assassinated on Friday, November 22nd, 1963 at 12:30 p.m. Kennedy was shot while traveling through a presidential motorcade through Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas. Kennedy was in Dallas trying to support his presidential re-election campaign for the 1964 presidential election. The assassination of JFK went down in history as an act by a lone gunman named Lee Harvey Oswald. The reason the JFK assassination is such a huge conspiracy theory and has been going around conspiracy circles for so long is there are so many strange occurrences with the case itself. Oswald shot the president from the 6-story window of a book depository in Dallas. However, he just applied for that job a mere 38 days before the shooting. That application being only 38 days out is strange in and of itself. However, the motorcade route that they were traveling wasn't decided until November 18th of 1963, leaving Oswald with very little time to plan. And if he was planning the assassination, he knew before they knew the actual route. Making it even stranger, Oswald purchased the rifle he used to assassinate the president on March 13th, 1963, alluding to the fact that he knew well in advance that he would need that rifle, because he purchased it under a surname. He purchased it under the name A. Hidell, which of course is not his name. And why would you purchase a rifle under someone else's name if you weren't going to use it for illegal activities? The fact that Oswald purchased the rifle so early and under a different name, and then got a job at the book depository to be in the perfect place to shoot the president, leads to the idea of a conspiracy. The idea that someone in the government was feeding him information so he would know how to plan this attack, and leads away from the idea of the lone gunman, just one man working by himself with no conspiracy going on. If he was, his IQ must have been through the roof. One of the biggest pieces of information shared to the public is what is called the magic bullet or single bullet theory, in which one bullet went through President Kennedy and hit Governor Connally in front of him. Here's a clip from a documentary made to explain the single bullet theory.
Zapruder, of course, is standing on a 4.5-foot high pedestal just west of the book depository. So he's looking up toward the corner. The limousine has just finished and completed its turn and starting to glide down Elm Street. Frame 133 is the first frame in which the president appears. As we advance the frames here, around frame 160 is approximately the time of the first shot, apparently a shot that missed. Governor Connally said that he was looking to the left side of the car. He heard a shot, immediately identified it as a high-powered rifle shot, and so he said he turned to his right because the sound seemed to come from over his right shoulder. And so we see him right here, looking to his left. And in the next couple of frames, we see his head turn, and now he's looking to his right. So it's a very quick head snap, quarter of a second, like this. Now the car glides down toward the Stemmons Freeway sign. The car disappears for a moment. You see Governor Connally emerge first from behind the sign. He does not appear to be injured. Next frame, 223. You can see the white shirt. You can see his jacket. You can see a little bit of gray area where his tie is. And something happens between frame 223 and 224. We can really pinpoint the moment that the bullet strikes. Watch the jacket. You notice it changes shape. It's almost as if the jacket has popped out a little bit, kind of bulged out. Before, after. Before, and after. In fact, a bullet has struck him in the right back and has emerged about an inch below his nipple, blowing about a 2-inch ragged hole. In the next frame, the president comes out from behind the sign. We see kind of an anguished look on his face, and his hands immediately go up toward his throat, and they come up in a guarded manner, and the elbows rise in a very dramatic and a very high fashion. So he's kind of like this. But you'll note that both men are reacting simultaneously.
This moment gives rise to what is called the single bullet theory, that the second shot hit both men, passing through the president and into the governor. This is challenged by those who say that President Kennedy and Governor Connolly were hit by different bullets from different guns, and two guns would make a conspiracy.
Here we have President Kennedy and Governor Connolly at the moment of the second shot. This is the moment they're hit, the equivalent of Zapruder frame 223. As we know, President Kennedy was struck in the upper right back. He had another bullet wound in his throat. It was believed to have passed through his throat, moving back to front. Governor Connolly, struck in the right back, just near the armpit. That bullet emerged his right chest, about 1 inch below the nipple line. When we look at their positions, based on the Zapruder film, this is exactly how they were seated at that moment, at frame 223. Governor Connolly sitting slightly inboard of the president. In addition to that, he's turned sharply to his right. You can already see from this that any bullet striking the president in the upper right back and emerging out of his throat, that bullet is going to continue forward, and it's going to hit Governor Connolly exactly where he was hit. Connolly has to be hit, and the fact that they both react at the same time clinches it. So, it's not a magic bullet at all. It's not even a single bullet theory, in my opinion. It's a single bullet fact.
So if President Kennedy and Governor Connolly were hit from behind by the same bullet, where did it come from? Using the men's body positions and the locations of their wounds, Myers can isolate the source of the shot.
We could start with, for instance, Governor Connolly's entrance wound on his back, connect that with the point of exit on the president's throat, and then take that line and project it rearward. What we end up with is a line that goes right back through the sniper's nest window, the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository.
While this documentary does talk about the single bullet theory, it doesn't talk about all 3 shots fired by Oswald. One hit the curb on the side of the road, one went through JFK and hit Connolly in front of him, and the third one was captured on film by private citizen Abraham Zapruder. His film is owned by copyright by the museum where the book depository is, so we can't show the whole film. But I can show a couple frames under the fair use doctrine just to show you the third one. Most of the American public may have not even seen this, so I do want to let you know it is fairly graphic, but it is only 3 frames of the Zapruder film. While many conspiracy theories abound that Oswald was not the shooter or that there were multiple shooters, there is actually a great deal of evidence that Oswald was the shooter. The Warren Commission did try to use that evidence to prove that to the public, but the conspiracy theories are still out there that he wasn't the shooter. The fact is, after Oswald shot, he left. He was actually leaving the book depository, and his boss told a cop that he should be there. When they looked at all the employees in the building, Oswald was gone. So they did report Oswald's characteristics out on the police scanner radio, and an officer named J.D. Tippit saw Oswald. He stopped and started to question him, and Oswald pulled out a revolver and shot Tippit 4 times, killing him right there on the spot. There were 2 eyewitnesses right there when he killed Tippit, and 7 more eyewitnesses that heard the shots and saw Oswald running from the crime scene. Oswald was actually arrested at a Dallas theater around 2 hours after the shooting of JFK due to a witness named Johnny Brewer who saw him go in. Oswald's characteristics had already been presented over TV and radio, and when he saw him go in, he reported to the police, saying that it may have been him, however he couldn't tell. The cops went in to arrest him. He actually tried to shoot them too with the same revolver he used to shoot Tippit. That revolver was purchased under his surname as well. In fact, when Oswald was arrested, he had a selective service card on his person with the name Alec J. Heidel on it. He denied knowing where that came from, actually denied knowing about the shootings, denied knowing why he was arrested. Here's a news clip of him speaking to the media right after he was arrested.
I positively know nothing about this situation here. I would like to have legal representation. Well, I was questioned by a judge. However, I protested at that time that I was not allowed legal representation during that very short and sweet hearing. I really don't know what the situation is about. Nobody has told me anything except that I'm accused of murdering a policeman. I know nothing more than that, and I do request someone to come forward to give me a legal assistance.
Did you kill the president?
No, I have not been charged with that. In fact, nobody has said that to me yet. The first thing I heard about it was when the newspaper reporters in the hall asked me that question.
You have been.
Sir?
You have been.
Okay.
What did you do in Rochester?
Oswald's boss at the book depository also reported that he came in with a large paper bag with something in it. But Oswald told him that it was actually curtain rods, and he was going to use it to work on a window upstairs. Oswald denied that with the cops, said he never happened, that did not happen. It would be hard for Oswald to plan this by himself. It seems like someone would have had to have leaked him information for him to be able to do this. The only other thing to say about that is if it was a conspiracy, it would have been perfect for Oswald to die shortly after, just to cover up for the other conspirators. But in fact, that's exactly what happened when a man named Jack Ruby shot him in the parking garage of the Dallas Police Department. So now we've talked about Oswald, which most people know about Oswald more than anything else with this case. We've talked about the single bullet or magic bullet theory, which most people also have heard about that. We put some new facts in on it for you though. And one thing we haven't talked about is Jack Ruby, the assassin of the assassin. Jack Ruby was a nightclub owner in Dallas, Texas, and he gunned down Oswald in the parking garage of the Dallas Police Department when they were transferring Oswald. He didn't just do it in front of the police, he did it in front of live TV cameras and reporters.
The turmoil in the lineup room had long before been taken over in the police station corridors. Everyone was there wanting to see Oswald, wanting to be shown the rifle. A police officer brought the rifle out. Foreign made, the press was told. Reporters were asking questions, newspaper photographers were hustling for better angles, television cameramen were feeding pictures, and one interested bystander was just looking on that Friday night. His name, Jack Ruby.
Chicago-born Ruby was a Dallas nightclub owner. He had a beer joint downtown where girls did striptease dances on stage. He didn't belong in the police station. Especially at a time like...
Fortunately, Oswald's need for a lawyer soon ended. Instead of law, there was one man's impulse, or one man's plot, or the climax of a conspiracy. More questions for the Warren Commission to answer in just a few moments. The next day, Sunday, Oswald, as required by Texas law, was being transferred from the city jail to the county jail. As all the world knows and as much of America witnessed, the man who had shown up Friday evening showed up again.
Floor of the Dallas City Hall, and that's a scuffle on the basement floor. It seems to concern photographers.
He has been shot. Oswald has been shot.
Lee Oswald.
Despite the fact that Ruby ran several clubs and had ties with the police department and organized crime, all of a sudden, after being detained on the spot from shooting Oswald, he suffered from mental illness. And he said he had psychomotor epilepsy, and actually had no control over himself when he shot Oswald. Even though Ruby claimed he had psychomotor epilepsy, he would have had to have been let in by cops who presumably were in his pocket so that he could actually get into the parking garage on that day and shoot Oswald. Ruby was happy to use the mental illness as an excuse and to try to get off on his case with that. However, he was sentenced to death in 1966, after which he started reporting that there actually was a conspiracy. He was passing notes to his jailers to let them know there was a conspiracy. He actually appealed the case, and he won his appeal. He was going to get a new trial, but he said that he was going to tell the truth in his new trial. Ruby had a court-appointed psychiatrist that would come in to see him, and he was reporting to that psychiatrist that there was a conspiracy, and that he was actually supposed to get off on the case, but when he didn't, he was going to make them take the fall with him. He reported to that psychiatrist that one night someone had snuck in and shot him with a syringe full of cancerous cells. Later on, of course, before he went to retrial, Ruby did die of cancer. So if there was a conspiracy with JFK, both of the players died before anyone could even go to trial and tell the truth about that. In Oswald's case, he never actually got to testify at all, and with Ruby, apparently, according to him, he was lying the first time thinking he was going to get off, He was working with the conspirators. But then once he didn't get off, he wanted to actually tell on them and make them take the fall with him. And then he died before that happened. The JFK assassination definitely has some mysteries involved with it, with Oswald and with Ruby. One of the things that was very interesting is Operation Northwoods. It's been declassified since then, but it was a classified operation in which they were going to frame Cuba for doing nefarious acts so that we could attack them and get Fidel Castro out of power. What's interesting about Operation Northwoods is it was actually passed, and then JFK had to veto it. And this happened around the time of his assassination. He vetoed Operation Northwoods and stopped that from happening. But it seems like some of the things that were going to happen in Operation Northwoods actually have happened since then to now, only with other wars. I am going to put a link to Operation Northwoods under this video. You can actually just click on that and read the PDF. It's not very long, but it is very interesting of what they were going to do. Another thing JFK was going to do was he was going to take out our Federal Reserve banking system and make a currency that had no interest on it. That was actually going through the works. The bill was going through the works, but as soon as Lyndon B. Johnson got into office, that was vetoed and thrown right out. So it is very interesting that things changed right after his assassination. It's very interesting that Oswald knew what he knew to do the assassination, and it's very interesting that Ruby just took it upon himself to go in and shoot Oswald, and then that both of them died the way they did. It's a very interesting case. It's full of mysteries. If you want to look more into it, JFK case is everywhere. You can look online and find all kinds of things about him. There are a lot of conspiracy videos that go way out there. You may want to steer away from them. You can go read the Warren Commission reports and things like that and see other facts. But you can watch really whatever you want about it. There's tons of information out there. The official Warren Commission report of 1964 concluded that neither Oswald or Ruby were part of a larger conspiracy to assassinate President Kennedy. However, in 1978, the House Select Committee on Assassinations concluded that JFK was, quote, probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. The Commission's findings, as well as the Warren Report's findings, are highly disputed to this day. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching this episode of The Search. If you did like the episode, I want you to click the like and subscribe buttons at the bottom so you don't miss the next episode. I hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you next time.